Welcome back to the fourth session, in that case not in the third لأنه we have the first session اللي هي كانت about 27 minutes second session كانت about 40 minutes third session about 11 minutes, so this is considered as the fourth one. This is okay. The fourth one we are going to talk about transformers. Transformers are a device which is responsible for changing what? Changing the alternating voltage, okay, whether by increasing at وفي الكيس دي بقول عليه step up transformer or by decreasing at when that case بقول عليه step down transformer. This is okay. What's the structure of the transformer or how the transformer is working with equations for the transformer. Okay, a transformer is a device which is responsible for changing the alternating voltage, which consisting of three ports. Okay, the first port it's actually a primary coil which we called it the primary coil. Okay, وبعدين iron core, which is this is the iron core, then a secondary coil. This is the secondary coil. So I'm going to repeat again. It's consisting of primary coil, core, secondary coil. The primary coil for the voltage and the current, the alternating current to be in. Okay, with the other one which is the secondary coil for the alternating induced current or the alternating induced voltage to be out. طيب امال الكور ده عباره عن ايه؟ الكور ده عباره عن soft magnetic material which is most of the time iron and sometimes بيكون iron with some silicon. Okay, طيب what is the job for each one of them? Primary coil taking the current in, alternating current in. Okay, producing alternating magnetic field لأنه انتوا عارفين إنه for each current we have a magnetic field around. طيب الcore transporting the magnetic field, not the current. Transporting the magnetic field, not the current. Then after that the magnetic field will be transported into اللي هو alternating magnetic field into the secondary coil. The secondary coil يا حلوين intersecting with the magnetic field producing the induced alternating current or the induced alternating voltage out. This is okay. So again and again and again the core is transporting the magnetic field, and this is one of the major mistakes. The core is not transporting the electrical current. It's not connecting the two coils together. No, it's just transporting the alternating magnetic field from the primary coil into what? To the secondary coil. How the transformer is working? The current is getting into the coil producing alternating magnetic field. خلاص كده تمام مفيش أي مشاكل. To the other side we have the second coil. It looks like that in terms. This is okay. فيجي alternating current, okay, move into that direction once, okay, so it will cut the magnetic field lines of it, cut the coil, secondary coil. وبعدين it will move up to the opposite direction one more time, so it will cut the coil, and down one more time, cutting the coil, up, cutting the coil. So again, the alternating current get in, producing alternating magnetic field. The alternating magnetic field which is produced by the first or the primary coil will be cut by the secondary coil because it's alternating, which means again if this is your coil, the current is getting in once and out once, يعني in from here and out from here once, وبعدين then after that it will reverse the direction because it's alternating. فيا حبيبي it will be get in here and out from the other side. So what will happen? Here is your coil. The magnetic field produced by the primary coil will cut once into that direction, the coil, then it will reverse its direction, so it will cut it one more time up, cut it one more time down, up, down, up, down. It's all of the time moving from up and down, changing its direction, and while it's changing its direction it will be cut by the secondary coil. طب أنا كده عندي إيه بقى؟ عندي magnetic field وعندي a current carrying conductor, one of them is moving in relative to the other one. يعني one of them is moving which is the magnetic field. What will you will get? Electromagnetic induction. So again, a magnetic field, alternating magnetic field coming out from the primary coil will be cut by the secondary coil, and the magnetic field will keep moving up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, because it's alternating current, so it's producing alternating magnetic field. That motion, and while the magnetic field is being cut by this coil, what you will get electromagnetic induction, which means you will get induced voltage if you have free terminals, or induced current if you have a complete circuit to the other side. This is okay. طبعا transformer questions in the past papers ما بيجيش فيها اصلا غير الكويستشن ده. لازم you will find this question, which is how the transformer is working. How does the transformer is working? أو يقول لحضرتك what is the function of the primary coil والcore والsecondary coil? What is the function of three of them? This is okay. So you have 3 steps. As a correcting person, I'm looking for 3 steps. Step number 1, what the primary coil is doing. Step number 2, what the core is doing. Step number 3, what the secondary coil is doing. So the primary coil is doing what? It will get or take the alternating current, producing alternating magnetic field. That's it. This is the job description for it. The core is doing what? Support the alternating magnetic field into what? The secondary coil. Transported and supported to the secondary coil. The secondary coil doing what? Is being cut by the alternating magnetic field. So you have the 3 steps how the transformer is working. One more point which we have to stress on. دايما يجي يقول لحضرتك what is the job of the core? Is it to connect the primary with the secondary? No. It's suggested to transport and support the what? The magnetic field. Type. One more question. You will face it also many times. The core is made of what? It's made of a soft magnetic material. For which reason? So it can easily be magnetized and changing its direction of magnetism. لأنه حضرتك you magnetize it once down, once up. So you're changing the direction of magnetism. So it has to be a soft magnetic material. So we have iron, which is a soft magnetic material, plus some silicon. What else do we have? Where's the loss? And what's the efficiency of the transformer? And does the transformer work with AC or not? And explain the reason. Type. Number 1, where is the loss? The loss in 2 parts. We have loss in 2 parts. The first part, which is in the wires. There is a current getting into the wire, so there is a tiny resistance. And current induced into the second coil, so there is again a tiny resistance. So you are losing some of the energy in what? In the because of the current in the coils or the wires. Type. Second thing, you are losing some of the energy into the core. The core is actually, there's the magnetic field down, the magnetic field up, down, up. Changing the direction, okay, will actually produce some heat in form of loss. So again, where is the loss in the transformer? Again, into 2 positions. The first position, which is what? Into the wires. There is a current which is in whether getting into the coil, primary coil, or induced into the secondary coil. That current within a little resistance, so there is a loss in form of heat. The second place or the second location for loss into the core. El core, while changing the direction of the magnetic field down and up, there is a loss in form of heat. This is the 2 positions of loss. Type. The second point which you have to pay attention to. The transformer is accepting alternating current. Does it work with alternating current? Yes, it is. Type. Does it work with direct current? No, it would never work with direct current. Again, transformers working only with what? With the alternating current, and they would never work with the direct current. For which reason? The current is getting in, producing magnetic field, so the magnetic field will be cut once. وخلاص, the current is moving into the same direction all of the time because it's a direct current, so it would never reverse the direction, so it would never give you the motion. حضرتك احنا قايلين in electromagnetic induction you need 2 points. Magnetic field and motion. Do you have the motion with the direct current? No, I don't have the motion. خلاص, it's once the current will move into one direction, producing the magnetic field, and that's it. It will keep moving to that direction. So it would never show you the motion, up and down motion. So you don't have the motion, you have just the magnetic field. You will get electromagnetic induction? No, you would never. لأنه أنا قلت لحضرتك to get the electromagnetic induction عندك 2 cases. 2 conditions. You have to apply the 2 conditions. Without the 2 conditions, you will not get the results, which is the electromagnetic induction. So transformers again consisting of primary coil, core, secondary coil. how they are working or functioning. The primary coil producing alternating magnetic field because it has alternating current. The core is transporting the magnetic field to the secondary coil. The secondary coil is being cut by what? By the alternating magnetic field, inducing current or inducing voltage. طبعا the word inducing voltage دي keyword we are looking for, so you have to write it. Okay. The core is made of what? The core is made of iron and silicon. The core is a soft magnetic material. For which reasons? Because soft magnetic material can change the direction of magnetism easily. The transformer, number one, it's in working with alternating current. It would never work with direct current. The transformers, this is number two. We have two locations for the loss: in the wires as a result of the resistance for the current, and into the core as a result for resisting to the change in the magnetic field. Number three, what is the efficiency of the transformer? Efficiency of the transformer, 99.9%. Okay, I told you once before, we are passing over about 10 transformers or maybe more. If the efficiency is 99%, this means you are losing 1% as a loss. The 1% within 10 transformers, so 10% of the energy will be lost just in the transformers, which is not making any sense. So we need the efficiency of the transformers to be 99.9%, which is almost 100%. This is okay. So if you are passing over 10 transformers, you have 99 point, I think 99.9, something like that, or 99.9, doesn't matter. Anyway, what I would like to go for, the 0.1% multiply 10, which will give you 1% as loss. 1% is accepted, but 10% is not accepted as a loss of the energy. طيب, perfect. Point بقى teacher, حضرتك based on what you can tell me that this transformer is step up or this transformer is step down? Based on what? Based on the following: number of turns in the primary in relation to the number of turns in the secondary. يعني if the number, here you are, here is the core, soft iron core, and here is the primary coil, and here is the secondary coil. Okay, if the number of turns here is more and the number of turns here is less, so there is a lot of magnetic fields but the coil is less in turns, so the induction will be less. وحضرتك هتقول على ده step down. So the number of turns in the secondary coil is less, so we called it step down because the amount induced will be less because the number of turns is less. Right. Suppose if the number of turns in the primary is less and number of turns in the secondary is more. So more coil here, more cutting to the magnetic field lines, so more induction. You will call that step up transformers. So step up and step down transformers based on what? Based on the number of turns in each one of them. يعني if the number of turns again in the primary more and in the secondary less, this means you are inducing less لأن the number of turns is less, فهقول عليه step down. طيب, if the number of turns in the primary is less and the number of turns in the secondary is more, so the induction will be more because we have more turns in the coil, you will call that a step up transformer. This is okay. طيب, we have a certain ratio, yeah, based on the amount of voltage which you would like to have out or you would like to induce. يعني which means, for example مثلا, yeah teacher, I have a 1000 volt. I would like to step them down into a 100 volt. Okay, so there is a ratio in between them. The ratio in between them is 10 to 1 after simplification. فحضرتك number of turns in the coils will be the same, following the same ratio. So obvious that this is a step down transformer. It's taking the voltage less, so it's taking a large voltage producing less voltage, so it's a step down transformer. Here you are, here is your coil, and here is the number of turns in the primary and number of turns in the second. If you have 10 turns here and 1 turn here, I will produce that voltage. If the voltage which is getting in will be 1000, the voltage which is coming out will be 1, because we have the same ratio. The same ratio in between the turns is the same in between the voltages. One more time. If I have, for example, 24 volt, I would like to step them down into, for example, 12 volt. Okay, so this one is double. It's a step down again. So the ratio in between them will be what? divided by 2, which will give you 12, divided by 2, which will give you, لا, we can divide by 12, which will give me 2, simplification بقى, and divide by 12, which will give me 1. So the ratio between them will be 2 to 1. So you have 2 turns here and 1 turn here, will be very perfect for you. If you will get in with 24 volts, you will come out with 12 volts. So it's a fixed ratio. طب يا teacher معلش أنا مش عايزة 2 turns. هو الريشيو in between them 2 to 1. It's okay, but I don't want 2 turns, 1 turns, which is not making sense. طب يا حبيبي, anything which is following this ratio, which means you can go for 4 and 2. You can go for what? 10 and 5. This one has to be double this one. This is okay. You can go for 20 and 10. And so on. Whatever number of turns which will keep that ratio will be accepted. وطبعا لأنه as usual the students are very clever and they are perfect in the mental mathematics. So we would never depend on them and their mentalities. We would get an equation for that. What is the equation for the transformer? The transformer actually has 2 equations. Okay. This is the first equation which is extremely important. ايه first equation دي؟ بيقول لحضرتك voltage in the primary divided by voltage in the secondary equal to number of turns in the primary over number of turns, over the voltage in the secondary. Again, number of turns, I'm sorry. Voltage in the primary coil over voltage in the secondary coil equals to number of turns in the primary coil over number of turns in the secondary coil. Primary, secondary. This is okay. طب teacher, can we rearrange the equation? الايكويشن دي لها more than one form. يعني for example ممكن تكتب انت هنا number of turns in the primary over number of turns in the secondary equal to voltage in the primary over voltage in the secondary. يعني flip their positions. تقدر عادي جدا. This is one shape. Another shape, you can cross multiplying them. Voltage in the primary over number of turns in the secondary هيساوي voltage in the secondary over number of turns in the primary. If you like, this is another form. طيب, or we can flip both of them, يعني which means حضرتك هتيجي تقول لي voltage in the secondary over voltage in the primary equal to number of turns in the secondary over number of turns in the primary. يعني point in primary, secondary. This is okay. So the first transformer equation, voltage in the primary divided by voltage in the secondary will give you number of turns in the primary divided by number of turns in the secondary. You can arrange the equation, you can switch their positions, you can flip the 2 fractions, you can cross multiply them, whatever بقى you would like to use يعني, or you would like to go for. This is okay. Right. Go back for the book. I forgot to mention that there is a symbol for it. The symbol is, here it is. This is the primary coil, this is the core, this is the secondary coil. طبعا without discussion, this is one circuit and this is the second circuit where we will find the induction. عشان مش عايزة ذكاوة. These 2 terminals connected in the first circuit and these 2 terminals connected in the second circuit where we will find the induction. Here we are. Book page 298. A transformer is a device used to increase or decrease the voltage of an electricity supply. They are designed to be efficient as possible up to 99.9% efficiency. هنا بقى حبيبي بيقول لحضرتك here is the figure in page 299. Here is the transformer: core, primary coil, secondary coil. The primary coil, the core and the secondary coil, this is the circuit symbol. طيب, the transformer consisting of 3 parts: primary coil and for the incoming voltage, and secondary coil for the induced voltage, and the iron core which is linking the 2 coils together. طيب, pay attention to the following. Note that there is no electrical connection between the 2 coils. They are linked together only by what? The iron core. Type. It changes the size of the alternating voltage. It would never work with direct voltage. The step-up transformer increasing the voltage, وبالتالي more turns in the secondary coil. The step-down transformer reducing the voltage, وبالتالي we have fewer turns in the secondary coil. For the equation, if the voltage is stepped up, this is one piece of information كده انه بيقول لحضرتك انه الباور equal to current multiply voltage. حضرتك you will increase the voltage by default, what will happen to current decrease. فلو معاك step up transformer يعني increasing the voltage, the current will be decreased. If you have a step down transformer, this means what? Step down transformers means the voltage will be decreased, so without discussion the current will be increasing. We explained that in the previous session. إنه the relationship between current and voltage inversely proportional, which means more voltage less current. طيب less voltage more current. So it's written here. Note that if the voltage is stepped up, the current must be stepped down without discussion يعني. As a piece of information, we have worked example 21.1, which is a very nice worked example. Worked example بيقول لحضرتك ايه: a transformer is needed to step down 230 volt main supply to 6 volt. step down يعني 230 ده في ال primary coil و 6 volt in the secondary coil. If the primary coil has 1000 turn, how many turn must be in the secondary one? فحضرتك simply جدا you will check the drawing in front of you كده. انت هو عمله طبعا. You can draw that with your own self for the answer. Here is the primary coil with 1000 turn 230 volt. Where is the secondary coil with number of turns which is unknown and 6 volts? You can use the equation number of turns in the primary over voltage in the primary over voltage in the secondary equal to number of turns in the primary over number of turns in the secondary. وبعدين عملنا substitution وعملت number of turns in the secondary as a subject. يعني 6 multiply 1000 divided by 230 فاداني 26.1 turn. طبعا ما فيش حاجه اسمها 0.1 turn و 0.5 turn و 0.7 turn والكلام الفارغ ده. فهتعمل راوندنج يعني 26.1 هيبقى الراوندنج بتاعها 26 turns. طب لو حضرتك قال لك 26.7 كانت الريزلت 26.5 او 0.7 هتقول لي about what 27 turns. Okay. طيب. Back to the questions. We solved these questions. This was last thing. طب we will go for these questions. Questions in page 300. Okay. طيب. In page 300 is written why the electrical power transmitted in the national grid in high voltage. Why we transmit the power in high voltage? For which reason? To save the energy, reduce the loss, and save the energy. Name the 3 essential parts of the transformer. We have main essential parts: primary coil, core, secondary coil. Transformer has 100 turns on the primary and 1000 on the secondary. Is it a step up or step down? يعني more turns in the secondary, so it will be step up. A portable radio has a built-in transformer. A built-in transformers so that it can work from the main instead of the battery. يعني ايه working from the main instead of the battery؟ يعني الباتري دي بتكون low voltage. فبيقول لحضرتك if you don't have battery you will use the main. طبعا الباتري low voltage. فحضرتك if you will use instead the main supply او socket in the wall فحضرتك اكيد you have to do what to step down. لانه المين socket بيدي حضرتك 110 وبيدي حضرتك 110 وبيدي حضرتك 230 او 220 والباتريز بتدي حضرتك ايه 15 فولت. طيب I will remove the battery and use a power supply. So without discussion I have to step down the voltage of the power supply. Okay. يعني question 21.9 is actually depending on your mental issues. Okay, not depending on a certain rule. إنه بس البوينت إنه حضرتك تبقى فاهم أنا instead of the battery هستخدم power supply. 100% the battery is low voltage, so I will replace it with the power supply. So I have a step down the power supply to be equal to the battery. طيب step up transformer has 2000 turns on the coil and 5000 on the other. تفتكر بقى which one of them 2000 with the other one which one of them will be the 5000. The step up transformer. So the 2000 will be in the primary وال 5000 without discussion will be in the secondary. This is okay. فبيقول لحضرتك calculate the ratio for the number of turns in the secondary over number of turns in the primary. Number of turns in the secondary لأن هو step up هيبقى 5000 divided by number of turns in the primary which is 2000. So the 5000 divided by the 2000 cross the zeros, so it will be 5 divided by 2, which means it will be 2.5. This is the ratio, or 5/2 as you wish. The last question: a transformer is designed to provide 20 volt from 240. يعني 240 this is the in and 20 this is the out. So it's a step up or step down. طبعا step down. If the primary coil has 1200 turns, how many must be in the secondary? You have to write your given. يعني you have to write your given. Here you are. You have 240 volt as a primary. Okay, and 20 volt as voltage in the secondary. This is the produced one, and the primary coil number of turns. So the number of turns in the primary 1200 can you find the number of turns in the secondary؟ حضرتك simply جدا هتحط equation number of turns in the secondary over number of turns in the primary equal to the voltage in the secondary over the voltage in the primary. طيب substitute بقى number of turns in the secondary we didn't know it so I will write it as it is. Number of turns in the primary which is 1200 equal to the voltage in the secondary which is 20 over the voltage in the primary which is 240 cross multiplication. So the number of turns in the secondary will be what? 20 multiply 1200 divided by 240. 0 with 0, 2 with 24 which will give you 12. طيب 12 with 12 which will give you 100. Here you are, 100 turns. This is okay? Here is the question. Start. Check that point in the book. It's written how the transformers work. Transformers work into 1, 2, 3. 3 steps. It's written in the book. You have to pay attention to. So this is a very important paragraph. 1, 2, 3 steps. And here, if you have a direct current connected to the transformer, it will be working or not. This is extremely important. So you have to study this one hardly and this one hardly. It's very important. What is the magnetic material? It's a soft magnetic material. And here is the core and the coils, and here it's written some energy is lost because of the resistance in the wire. This is the first thing, and because of the core resistance, the flow of the changing magnetic field. Type 2 questions بقى. What is the function of the core of the transformer? The function of the core is to transport the alternating magnetic field from the primary to the secondary. Why must the core made of soft magnetic material? So it can change the direction of magnetism easily. Explain why the transformer will not work with the direct current. لأنه direct current produce direct magnetic field which will not move or reverse its direction, so there is no motion, there is no electromagnetic induction. So we are here calculating the current. Expected to finish the rest of the chapter the next the next session بقى we will finish the current, calculating the current with the second equation, and we will finish the end of chapter questions. And we will solve some past papers. So I do recommend if you can go back to the school and take your past papers. The past papers are actually, and the workbooks are located into the art room just beside your class. So if you don't mind, go back to the school and pick them up. Whatever, in case if you are living in Qatif or in whatever location which is locked. So we will do the following. Here we are. Here is your workbook. The workbook, I will scan this page and that one and this one. Okay, and I will send them on the website. This is number 1. I will send the answer key for them also on the website. You have to study the lesson. You have to study the pages which is related into the workbook, and then we will start in solving the based on the new weekly. We are going to start to solve in paper 2 and paper 2, paper 4, and paper 2 and 4 in the next session. So I do recommend to get your past paper if you don't mind. One more thing, in the previous session I mentioned that it was a mathematical mistake. يعني إنه while I was revising the video أنا قلت لحضرتك إنه ال power is related to the current to the power of 2. So if the current is doubling the current to the power of 2 will give you 4 times the power or 4 times the loss. 4 times the 0.2, it's not 3.2. 4 times the 0.2 is 0.8. It's a multiplication. I'm sorry. It's a multiplication process. So this is just for your record. But anyway, as I told you, you can skip that part. Just keep in your mind, doubling the current, well, 4 times the loss. Tripling the current, well, 9 times the loss, and so on. That's it. Thank you for now.